Well, hello, and welcome back to that thing we like to call Curless Mania, where we talk all things pop, rock, and prog. And I am stoked tonight. I am pumped to have Mr. Pete Pardo back on the channel. Pete, how are you tonight?
Going on, Tom? Good to see you. Happy to
Yeah.
be back and talking a band that I love a lot.
Yes, yes.
A
Well,
lot.
I'm really excited to have you back. And we are indeed talking some progressive rock tonight, but American progressive rock.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
There you go.
Certainly doesn't seem like Kansas outside, let me tell you, with 20 inches of snow and 10 degrees or whatever it is out there today.
Yeah,
It's not
Pete
like
and I were
typical Kansas weather. I don't think. I've never been to Kansas, so maybe I don't really know, what weather's like there, but I guarantee it's not like this right now.
No, no. Pete and I were just lamenting about this long winter we're having. He's having it worse, I'm sure, than I am. I'm in Michigan, and yeah, obviously he's in the New York area, so it's just you're getting 20 inches of snow. That's a lot of snow.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, but
That's crazy.
we live through it, right?
That's right. That's right. But we are here tonight to talk. We're hunkering down in this winter, and we listen. This is what we how we get through winter. We listen to great music, and this is. I mean, when you think progressive rock, you usually don't think American, right? And you especially don't think Topeka, Kansas. But a band came out of Topeka, Kansas, and they are one of the best prog rock bands around ever.
Yeah, yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. And they learned a lot of what they did. They got from the greats from the British scene. I've talked to lots of people from across the pond who will insist that Kansas are not really prog and that they were unoriginal and
Right.
all they did was copy from the great British bands. They learned their trade from the British bands. They will be the first to admit it. But I will
Sure.
say, I don't think they ever sounded like any of the British bands because
Right.
they kind of gave it their own American spin on the music. And I think what's really cool about Kansas is they played prog rock, but they did hard rock, they did boogie, they did pop rock as well. So they blended all sorts of cool things. They had violin in their music, right?
Right.
Amazing
Right.
keyboards, crunchy hard rock guitars, two great vocalists, right? Amazing Hammond organ and synthesizers. I mean, just and really, really cool songs that, like I said, crossed over a few different genres. But really, the first true breakthrough progressive rock band here in this country.
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. And I always forget when I was getting ready for this, I always forget that they have two vocalists. Yeah, I always think Steve Walsh, and then you're like, no, no, there's like Robbie
Robbie
Steinhardt.
Steinhardt, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's two vocalists, which is kind of cool. But yeah, no, I it's funny because Kansas, there are little things that I kind of feel like I kind of hear some of the criticisms, like you said there's some boogie rock in there, and there's times where I'm like, ooh, I don't really like that song that much because it's like almost like on the edge of boogie rock. But then they'll do something that's totally progressive, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all in for this song. So it's there's but that being said, we are here to talk about an incredible. We have been doing incredible runs, and this is an incredible run. We are doing the Kansas discography from their debut in 1974 through Monolith in 1979. So yeah. So that's a what, 5 album run that was pretty flawless.
Six actually,
Six, sorry,
six. Yep.
six.
And I know some people who are watching probably may not include Monolith. I had
Hmm.
to twist Tom's arm a little bit here to include Monolith because I think while Monolith is not quite up to the high standards of Leftoverture and Point of No Return, I think it's pretty damn good, and I think it's arguably just as good as some of the earlier albums.
Hmm.
It's definitely the beginning of this little bit of a slide, but I think it's a quite a good album on its own, and so I push for us to include it here. Again, for some people who are watching, they may think that that's not really included as part of the big run, so it all depends on what you like, right? But for me, I like to include it. I think the albums after Monolith, while I enjoy like Audio Visions and Power and all that stuff and Final Confessions, right?
Right.
Those aren't like the outstanding near perfect or perfect albums as some of these earlier ones are. But I think Monolith has enough going for it that I really wanted to include it. We'll talk about that when we get to it. That's going to be the last one we talk about today.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting discussion at the end. But at the same time, I think most fans would agree that once they get to Audio Visions, Vinyl Confession, it kind of does drop off a little bit. And when they get a new singer, John Elefante, and they have some hits. I mean, Fire with Fire is a pretty cool
Oh yeah,
track.
yeah.
There's moments, but it's like it's not quite the same like high level all the way through the record.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I enjoy those records, but that's not really mandatory Kansas for me.
Right, right. That's a good way to say it. It's perfect. Yeah. So let's jump into it. I mean, 1974 debut, and this, I mean, I would say that I'm just going to start this one out by saying this is one of those bands. Sometimes you get those bands that they almost seem fully formed right when they come out of the gate, and
Yep.
this is kind of one of those for me. Like you listen to this and you go, man, this band sounds top form already. On this record, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. There are days where I say to myself, why is this not my favorite Kansas album? Because you could make that argument, right?
Right.
Granted, I know we've got two albums coming up that are like, classics,
Right.
but
Right.
this is as a debut, this is so good. And again, it has a lot of those elements we talked about. There's that little bit of boogie rock on here. But then you got some amazing prog stuff on here. You got some pretty rocking moments as well. I mean, Can I Tell You kicks it off. That's a great
Yeah.
song.
Right. It is a good song. I mean, it hits you right in the face.
Great chorus. I love the
Yeah,
violin, and right off the bat, you hear the violin. You're like, "Oh, this is amazing."
and it's
You know,
tight as hell, right?
totally tight as hell. Yeah, that's one of the most underrated tracks on this album, I think.
Mhm.
Really, really good. Bringing it back. There's your kind of bluesy boogie rocker, right?
Yeah, it's for me. Yeah, yeah.
I, you know, I one of the main criticisms I get from people when they talk about the early catalog and whether it warrants being called prog rock or not are these kind of boogie bluesy
Right,
tracks.
right,
And I
right,
get it. They're my least favorite in most cases on these albums, but bringing it back would be a great song for almost any other band, I think.
right. That's true. That is
It's
true.
not awful, but yeah,
No, it's not
it
awful. No,
kind of doesn't fit.
no.
But Lonely Wind is gorgeous.
Only Wins great. Yes, I'm
Totally
in Only
gorgeous, right? You got
Wins.
Alexis on here, which is an older track from when they were the pre-Kansas band.
Right.
Alexis is great.
Another good track. Yep.
Oh yeah, Journey from Marybron is a
Oh,
prog classic.
now we're talking. Now we're talking. That's a classic.
Yeah, such
That
a
almost
classic.
sounds like it could be like a Rush song, like with different instrumentation. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
close.
yeah, and I love the way this band has so many things that they're in their arsenal to use. So you got like the guitars. You got two great guitar players in this band, Kerry Livgren and Rich Williams. You got
Right.
two great keyboard players here in Walsh and Kerry Livgren. So you got all these guitar and keyboard textures. Then you throw that violin in, the wonderful vocals, the great drumming, the great bass playing. Dave Hope,
Yeah.
very
Oh,
good,
Dave Hope. Oh, come on. He's
so
awesome.
good, very
Yeah.
underrated. Nobody ever talks about him. Really, really
Right.
good player.
Yeah.
And then you have the Pilgrimage, which is fantastic as well.
Love that. Yep.
And
Yep.
for me, does it get any better as like a 1-2 punch of two fantastic songs that kind of segue into each other? Apricot and Death of Mother Nature Suite. Love
Awesome.
them.
Awesome. Yeah.
I just love, man,
Yes.
it's so heavy. It's so good.
Heavy. Yes.
So good.
Yes.
The Hammond organ, man, it's so good. The vocals, just so good. And yeah, you're right. A debut album. There's some really, really cool shit happening on this album that like fully formed, right? Band new
Yeah.
right off the bat,
Right
exactly what
out
they're
of the
going to
gate.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. I mean, you can tell these guys have been around the block. They have not, they're not, this isn't new to them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they had been in various bands. You mentioned they had been in various bands. They came together. These guys were seasoned musicians by this point already.
Yeah, they were. Although, you look at them and you're like, huh?
I know, I know, I know. And that's another thing that some of my friends couldn't take Kansas seriously when they saw the overalls. They just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
know?
get all that, but it's,
Yeah,
never judge a book by its cover, I always say.
exactly, exactly,
And I
exactly.
also I love the production of this album too. I think, for 1974, this is a great sounding, well played, just kick-ass album of some really, really cool stuff, really great ideas. And, again, if you're someone who's like a mild Kansas fan or a casual Kansas fan, all you really know is Leftoverture and Point of No Return, go listen to this.
Check this out. Yeah, yeah,
Absolute killer.
yeah. Check it out. It's definitely worth discovering. I mean, and it's interesting. It's produced. You mentioned the production. It's produced by Wally Gold, who's the guy that sort of discovered them.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting that he produced it.
It's a really good sounding album, I think.
Yeah, no,
Most of these Kansas albums sound really great. Always had good production.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so great debut, and then we move on to the second record, "Song for America," which I think is excellent. I think I love this. I think this is even a step up from the debut for me.
In some ways, yeah. I would argue that maybe there's some stuff on the debut that's maybe a little bit more adventurous,
Right.
but I think the songwriting gets better on the second album.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's it. Yep.
Unfortunately, it starts off with Down the Road. which is again kind of like a generic
Another
bluesy.
boogie-ish. Yeah,
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 that's to me a bad choice for an opening track.
right,
I've said this a million times. I think they start this album off with "Song for America," the title track. Totally different story. Because,
right.
if you're someone who stumbled upon this in the stores and you say that's a pretty cool album cover, I wonder what that is, right?
Yes,
Then you
yep,
hear down the road, you're kind of like, all right, this is kind of generic sounding, right?
right,
As
right.
opposed to "Song for America," which is majestic and just absolutely amazing, one of their greatest songs,
Yes,
and an absolute classic for me.
yeah.
Composition
Oh,
wise,
same here, same here.
so good,
Yeah, that
so
it's
good.
such a cool groove, and
Violin comes in, right?
violin, that
The vocal
yes,
melodies are so good. It's just,
yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. And funny enough, this is a band, we're talking progressive rock here. This is a band that never did a lot of really long songs.
right,
Song
right,
for America is just like, I think it's like what, 801 or something like that.
right,
901, it's like literally like a second over like a length that most people consider an epic length track for prog. And they didn't do a lot of really long songs ever. That wasn't
right,
really their thing. But
right.
Song for America is, I think, well constructed and it's just as long as it needs to be. Not a
Yeah,
wasted second in it at all.
no, I agree. That's a classic. That's like their
Yep.
first classic for me. Like I love Song
Yeah,
for America.
it's so good.
Yeah,
Lamplight Symphony, great.
another excellent track. Yep.
Another excellent track. I mean, then you got Lonely Street. I like that.
Yeah.
Good vocal on that. I think it's good.
Mhm.
The Devil Game, getting a little heavy, getting a little nasty, I think.
Right. Yep.
And then the other real classic on the album is Incomodro Hymn to the Atman. That
Yeah.
the final track. That's amazing stuff, right?
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
you have this is a weird album because you've got three prog like epic tracks on here. You got some of the bluesy boogie stuff and a little bit of the hard rock. Maybe, I think you maybe can make the argument that this album has three absolute classics on it, but is
Mhm.
not as consistently good as the first album.
Right. Yep. Yep.
That's the
No,
way I always look at it.
yeah, I love the high. The highs on this are much higher than the debut for
That's
me.
yeah, exactly.
That's the
I
way I
agree.
feel about it.
Yeah. And there
Yeah.
are albums that we talk about all the time that like maybe start to finish aren't as great as some other albums, but because they have those couple of tracks that are like can't beat,
Yes.
it elevates the album above what it normally would finish at.
Yeah, Song for America, like you mentioned the ones that I just love to death. Song for America, I love it. I think it's a Kansas classic, love it.
Yeah.
Uh, Lamplight Symphony, and then the Hymn to the Atman is. I mean, those are that I love when they go for that, and I understand. I mean, I think they were getting. Is it fair to say they were getting pressure from Kirshner and the label to they wanted to do this progressive, complicated stuff, and they were really good at it, but they was like, "Okay, can you do something that's a little more radio friendly? Just something in there." And they kind of feels like
Hard
they're
rock was big at the time, so yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes and also there's also times where, okay, you mentioned it earlier. Sometimes you'll hear a little bit, "Oh, that sounds a little Il Peelish," or that sounds a little bit like Jethro Tullish, or that sounds a little bit like little, here you can hear things, and then every once in a while it's like, that kind of sounds like Boston. Like they'll have like hard rock that almost sounds a little Boston-esque.
Well, it
Uh,
was right around that time, right? And so,
yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. So
And
interesting.
an amazing album cover.
Yeah, I love the cover. Love it.
One of the best, yeah, and one of the best in their catalog. I mean, actually, this band has some pretty good album covers, I will say. Not a lot of bands that we talk about you could say that with, but most of these album covers are pretty damn terrific, including this one. I went and bought this as a shirt. I was like, I just always loved it. So
Yeah, no, it's
yeah,
great. It's great. So, some people criticize the cover of the next record, Masque. I don't know.
yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
I think I
this is
like
the
it
weird.
though.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not one of the best other ones we're going to show here today, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
love this album.
Oh my God,
Again,
this record.
this,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but also kind of like Song for America. It's one of those albums where the highs are really, really amazing, and then there's a couple tracks that are like, okay, like again, it starts off with a generic boogie rocker.
Yes.
Takes a woman's love to make a man. It's catchy,
Right.
but it's
Right.
like, why did they start off with that? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Two
They,
Cents
they were
Worth is
thinking
pretty
that might be
cool.
the radio hit. That could be a radio hit,
Yeah, and
possibly.
then, you know what? Honestly, it probably could have if they would decide to push it that way because it's a pretty catchy blues
Catchy.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Two Cents Worth isn't great either, but it's
Right.
okay.
Right. Right.
But then all of a sudden,
Icarus, come on.
Born on Wings of Steel, I mean, that's one of their best songs.
So amazing. So
It's
it's my
amazing.
could be my favorite Kansas song. It's up there.
It's up there. It's
Yeah.
up there. You got two on side one that are just like more, or I'm not sure. Well, we'll get to it in a second. But
All
All
right.
the World is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Not
Yeah.
stand out, but I think it's good. And then you got Child of Innocence,
Right.
which is also one of my favorite Kansas songs. So
Yep.
right there you got Icarus Born on Wings of Steel, Child of Innocence, and then another song, well, that we're going to talk about in a minute, which again, you've got three gems on this album that in for me always rises this album pretty high in their catalog because it's like because those songs are so good. Child of Innocence is so great. Icarus Born on Wings of Steel and Child of Innocence both have some great guitar playing,
Yes. Yeah.
heavy guitar playing,
Heavy. Yes.
great riffing. You bring
Right.
back the whole Boston thing, right? So
Right.
all of a sudden you've got these, big crunchy sounding, amazingly produced hard rock guitars. I mean, Child of Innocence, that riff is just it's just sick.
It's heavy
So
for them. Yeah, it's kind
yeah,
of heavy.
really heavy for them. So good.
Yeah.
Love those songs. It's You is really good.
Hmm.
Good vocal performance on there. I think It's You is very good. It's very
Yep.
melodic. And
Yep.
then you got Mysteries and Mayhem, which is
Yeah.
another amazing song.
Another great song. Yeah.
Yeah, really
Yep.
good. And The Pinnacle is very good as well. So
Pinnacle's
again,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so kind of like Song for America, you have like a few standout tracks and a couple that are okay. They're not terrible, but they're like,
Right. Right.
kind of a little on the ordinary side. And it's almost like, Tom, if we were to kind of go back in time and take like all the best tracks from these two albums and put them on one record, you might have the best Kansas album
You
ever.
would have a classic. Yes, you
Yeah.
would. Absolutely.
Get rid of the boogie stuff and just put all the prog and hard rock stuff in one album. All of a sudden, amazing.
No, no, that's a great thought, Pete. I never thought of that. Like that would be an absolute banger of a record. That would just be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
And I
Um,
think Steve Walsh's vocals on this album are really, really good. I think he really starts to come into his own here. Even though you got Robbie singing a little bit on here, this is a great Steve vocal performance on this album. Really, really great album.
no,
Yeah, the cover is kind of weird, but and I hate the fact that early on, you get on the first album, you don't really get a logo. The second
right.
album, you get the first appearance of the amazing logo. And then on the third album, they get rid of the
They
logo.
don't
And then on
do
the
it.
next
Yeah.
album, the logo's back again. And it's back for two albums. Actually, it's back for three albums. And is it on? I don't think I'm trying to remember if it's on.
Um, I think it is on Audio Visions, I
Might
think.
be on, and that's probably it, right? Because I don't
I think
know.
that's it.
I think Vinyl Confessions does away with it. They bring it back later on, but yeah, I mean, I love their logo is amazing. I think it's
Yeah,
just
logo's perfect. It's great.
yeah.
Why would you get, like you said, to your point, why would you get rid of it? I don't, why would you ever go anyway?
I don't know. Yeah, because just think about how much better this might have looked with the real logo on it.
Right, right. Exactly. Exactly. So
So
no,
I like Mask a lot. I think it's really, really great.
I really like Mask. I think Mask. I think in Mask you hear Leftoverture coming in this on this record, and I think like I was gonna say the same thing that Steve's vocals on especially on Icarus, I love on Born on Wings of Steel, and he's doing those sail on, do 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 do, sail on. It's like yes, like he
Great
is just
stuff.
singing his heart out. It's so great, you know.
So epic. And
Yeah.
let's not forget, they released both of these albums in 1975
Yep.
in one calendar year, which was not uncommon for some bands during this time period. Bands
Right.
pumping out two albums in a year. That's no mean feat, right?
Pretty
So
amazing, but it kind of goes to your theory of, man, how cool would it have been if they had just like combined the best of all. It's like just put
yeah.
out one banger album in 75. but,
Like
but
Don, we're not going to do any of the bluesy boogie stuff. We're just going to give you a whole album of what we really want to do. It's going to be
right.
great. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I have to say, I almost forgot to say this, that this is produced by Jeff Glicksman, who was like,
Yes.
I guess
Yes.
he was a bandmate of theirs or early on, or he was a part of another band that Phil Ahart was part of or something, and he came back to produce them, and he does a great job.
Yeah, I mean, all the albums that he produced for them are really, really great sounding, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was he was kind of, a lot of bands in this time period had like that one producer they loved to work with for long periods of time. It's just, Queen did it, Chicago did it. I mean, a lot of bands around this time where they would hook up with one producer and that was their guy,
that was the guy. Yes, exactly. Right, right. And it seemed like Jeff Glicksman was their guy.
Yeah, Rush did the same thing, and then you notice when they were no longer working with that producer anymore. was pretty
Yes.
evident. So
Yes. Yeah. Because what was it? Grace Under Pressure was the first without Terry Brown. Is that right? Something like that.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
Signals was the last one. Yep, yep,
Yeah. And Signals was apparently was not we're talking about Rush today, but Signals was apparently had a little bit of little tension between them because they were kind of
yeah,
done. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it
So
happens.
it happens. Yeah. But anyway,
It's like a
uh,
marriage, right? Yep.
it is. It's kind of like a marriage, right? Exactly. So so yeah. So now we're on to an absolute classic.
The Big Kahuna, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, this album, I just I don't find anything wrong with this record. This is like one of those where I just fawn over it. I can't help it because it's so good.
Yeah, there's nothing skippable on this album at all.
So
Even
good.
like What's on My Mind, which is kind of like the hard rocker on here. That's
Love
really
that track.
yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
See, when they stay away from the boogie-ish stuff and they just kind of do hard rock, it works for me. Like the hard and like you said, like Child of Innocence is more hard rock, and so is What's on My Mind. You know.
Yeah, yeah, really good. Great riffing on here. I think, both Rich and Kerry are tremendous guitar players
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
nobody ever talks about when you talk about the great guitar players of the 70s. Both really, really good. And onwards, from the 70s. But yeah, really good players. And I think Kerry Livgren, probably because he was so good at both guitar and keyboards, that he never really got recognized for either, which is kind of
Right.
strange.
Right.
These multi-instrumentalist guys, right? They never seem to get their due in one place or another. But yeah, this album is chock full of classics. I mean, Carry On Wayward Son still is like one of their most played songs ever. I mean,
And
I
I
honestly
don't
I
get
hear
that
that more than
tired of
Dust
it.
in the
I don't
Wind.
get that sick of it. Do
No,
you?
I don't get, yeah, Dust in the Wind I can pass sometimes. I still like it, but Carry On Wayward Son never gets old.
Yeah.
To me, Carry On Wayward Son is like everything on that first Boston album. I've heard it a million times, but it's just so damn great. Bring it
Yes.
on. I'll
It's
play it
still
and
good.
crank
It's
it
still
every
amazing.
single time.
Yes.
It
Right.
really is good because the song isn't boring. It's got some great changes to it. The riffing is great, great chorus. The soloing is great. Everything about it is just really, really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of feels like everything is coming together on this album, and Kerry Livgren is writing his butt off. Like he is.
Yeah,
Yeah, apparently they even said I watched the documentary. They said he was on a writing roll. He was just like, and I guess Carry On Wayward Son was kind of like they had gotten everything rehearsed and done. And he said, "Hold on, guys, I got one more thing." And because they were like they were packing up, ready to go to the studio, and they were like, "All right, let's go. Like, we're done. Let's go record." And he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, guys, hold on. One more idea that I came up with last night." And they started playing it, and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
yeah,
very good. And the vocal melodies, to me, it's like this Carry On Wayward Son to me is almost like their Queen classic, right? Like drawing a blank. My God, the biggest Queen song of all time.
oh, Bohemian Rhapsody."
Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm shoveling too much snow. My brain is not working correctly today. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody was like so ahead of its time when it came out, and I think Carry On Wayward Son is kind of like their answer to that. I mean,
yeah,
that opening vocal that comes in is so good. The way the song is arranged, it's just absolutely amazing. Really, really good. There's a reason why people still love it. There's a reason why people who don't even know who Kansas is know that song, right? It's just
yes, yes, yes. I mean, the fact that it starts out with just the vocals. I mean, there's so many things about it that are so cool.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, and
The
then
Hammond organ in it is so good.
Miracles Out of Nowhere is also another complete banger. Like I love that track.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
another
God.
they're great songs. Yeah.
You know?
It's another favorite on here. And again, the vocal is, I mean, Walsh is singing up his ass off on here. I
Right.
mean, how about The Wall?
The
He's
Wall.
amazing on The Wall. The Wall is such a great, great song.
Yes.
So emotional, so majestic. For all those people who always argue with me, it's like, oh, Kansas isn't prog rock. Listen to any of this stuff we've just been talking about. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
just total prog. It's just done by Americans, right?
Right.
And it can
Right.
work, right? The Brits don't have a copyright on progressive rock. They did it
No.
first, arguably did it best, but doesn't mean that other bands can't take part in it doing well. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, Miracles Out of Nowhere is amazing. Just
Yeah.
so
Like you said, Steve Walsh singing on that. It's like chef's kiss. Like, come on.
yeah, so good.
You know.
Opus Insert is very cool as
Love
well.
Otis insert. Yeah. Yeah.
Questions of My Childhood is terrific,
Yeah.
absolutely terrific. I mean, there's just so many just majestic rockers on this album. Cheyenne Anthem is great too. Then of course you got Magnum Opus, which blew my mind the first time I heard this because it's got all these cool little parts and it's so complex and intricate.
So complex. It's
Uh,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, and granted, you listen to Magnum Opus, like, all right, they listen to ELP, obviously growing up. They probably listened to Gentle Giant and all that. And yeah, we get all that because who wasn't?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that both Steve and Kerry were big fans of Keith Emerson because you can
Yeah.
kind of hear it when they're playing at
Yeah.
times, right?
That's what I was feeling when I was listening to this for that for to get ready for this. I mean, I know this album pretty well, but especially listening to Magnum Opus, you're like, damn, this almost sounds like Keith Emerson is guesting on here or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But it's great stuff. I mean, this is a
right.
great album. It's a great sounding album. It's got an amazing album cover. Yeah, everything about it. I remember the first time I heard this. I had a friend when I was growing up who got into Kansas right before I did. In fact, he turned me on to Kansas and Rush.
Mhm.
And I had never listened to either band. And I remember I went over to his house and he's like, "Oh, you got to hear this album by this band Kansas." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And he played this. This was the one he had. And I remember just listening to this. I'm like, "Man, this is great." Because at the time, I was a big Kiss fan, so it had to rock. And I
Right.
was like, "All right, this album does rock." And I
Yeah.
remember like looking at like all the different parts to the song, to Magnum Opus, thinking, "Who's this Father Padilla guy, right? What does all this stuff mean? Who cares?" It's amazing. Yeah, really, really, really great album. Really great album. And their first, at the time, platinum album. I
Yeah,
think a couple of
you
them.
can't help but be intrigued with a song that has A, B, C, D, E, F, E. You're like, what is all this? Like you look at the track, just looking at it, you're like, I gotta hear that song, you
Yeah,
know? Um, so cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can make the argument on this album that you've got one, two, three, easily four drop dead Kansas classics, but you can make an argument for Cheyenne Anthem, Questions of My Childhood, Opus Insert, and What's on My Mind as well as all being really, really great. It's no bad song on here, but there are the classics on this album, but everything on here is really strong. Really good.
No, I mean this to me is I think you say it all the time, it's classic for a reason, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the writing is just so razor sharp on this. I mean, you can feel everything. The band, the everything's coming together. The band has been playing for a while together. They're starting to get this chemistry, and it just feels like it just really hits on this record.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
you know, and then they continue it. I mean, they just keep going on a high with Point of No Return, which is the next record, 1977, right?
Yeah. So, I told you a story about how, a buddy of mine turned me on to this album. Shortly thereafter, I went over to my cousin's house in Long Island, and my two cousins, who were a little bit older than me, had just bought this. And I remembered that I listened to this album at my friend Steve's house, and then they were all into this when it first came out. So I remember going there one weekend. We went to visit my parents, and my brother and I went to go visit them in Smithtown, Long Island, and they were all into this. So we listened to this for an entire afternoon, and I was like, "Wow, this is really, really good." And
Yeah.
at the time, "Dust in the Wind" was a huge song at the time, and I honestly, there are times where I think this album is just as great as this one.
Hmm.
There's some really, really great material on here. I mean, the title track is amazing.
Yeah.
This album, I think, maybe rocks a little bit more in spots. Like Port Paradox is killer. The Spider, we talked about that whole ELP thing, right? The Spider is
Yes.
like an
Fighting
amazing
Spirit. Yep.
instrumental. I wish they did more instrumentals. Just
Right.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spider is totally killer prog rock. And then Portrait He Knew rocks, but it's really catchy.
Good rocking track. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Closet Chronicles might be my favorite song on the album. Closet Chronicles
Yeah.
is so good. It's so emotional. Excellent stuff and great instrumentation. And then you get a really heavy Lightning's Hand, which has an
Mhm.
amazing vocal from Robbie Steinhardt and great violin. Dust in the Wind is a classic kind of folky pop song, right? Amazingly, amazingly done. I might be tired of it a little bit, but it's an amazing song.
It's still great. It's still very
Yeah.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
that violin solo,
Yeah.
it just grabs your heart and says, "Oh, love me, please." Yeah, it's so
It's so
good.
well recorded. That acoustic sounds so good. That picked
Yeah,
acoustics. Oh, it sounds
it
so good.
does. It
Yeah.
does. It's so good. And then you get a great rocker like Sparks of the Tempest, which is great. Nobody's Home, soaring, melodic. And then Hopelessly Human, which kicks ass.
Cool
Hopelessly
way
Human
to
is
end
great.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really great way to end the album. I mean, there's no weak song on here at all. And again, I love the production of this album. And how about that album cover? I
Cool
mean,
cover. Yeah.
yeah, great cover. I mean, as much as I love this cover, I sometimes think this is the better cover, but they're both amazing
Yeah.
in different ways. Yeah, and even the
Yeah.
back.
Even the back is
Yeah, I
cool.
was gonna say even the
Yeah.
back is very, very cool.
So
Yeah, it
it's
looks better on the album than the CD because I'm missing all the serpents and stuff on the outside.
right. right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so good. I mean, and both of these were multi-platinum albums. I mean, Kansas was huge at this point, especially here in the States.
yeah.
Not really so much overseas, but and then of course they released the live album after this, which is a killer live album that nobody ever talks about as one of the great live albums of the 70s, too, for the show.
No one mentions that album.
So good.
And it's so great. They are so again, they're one of the tightest bands, and they play live. They're amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And Walsh was still singing amazingly at this point in time. This is
yeah,
before he started to lose his voice due to overuse of cocaine, right, or whatever. So,
yeah. Oh, is
um,
that kind of what happened to him a little bit? It was a little too.
yeah, I heard he was a big cokehead throughout like the late 70s into the early mid 80s. And so
Yeah,
between that and, I mean, singing this material night after night, months on end, can't be.
can't do it. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah, because, I mean, unfortunately, like I never saw Kansas back in these days. I was a little too young. Um, but I didn't start seeing them till like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And his voice was kind of shot by then already. So
Yeah,
I feel bad that I never got to see like a prime Steve Walsh live. Because,
yeah.
man, you listen to some recordings from the early years, he was the real deal. He's one of the great singers of this era.
He's an unbelievable singer. I
Yeah.
mean, unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of like Bobby Kimball from Toto or something. Like it's that they can hit those high notes like effortless.
To me, he was up there with like Brad Delp from Boston, Steve Perry from Journey, Lou
Right.
Graham from Foreigner,
Yes.
all those guys, right? Those
That's
amazing,
that's
amazing
heady
singers.
company,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
All the big American bands, right? I mean, at the time. So yeah, an amazing, amazing singer and a great keyboard player too. I do want to mention that. He doesn't
Yes.
often get the credit for his, especially his Hammond organ work, which I think was terrific. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great album. This is like if you're watching the show and you don't have any Kansas,
Hmm.
go get these immediately.
Yeah.
This is the best place to start your journey. But all the albums that we're talking about today are worth having. And after you get these and hopefully love these, you're going to want all of these for
Gonna
sure.
want more. Exactly. It's like those are the two essentials. It kind of reminds me, I always say there are certain bands that have Twin Peaks or whatever, and I always say like Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic Rocks, they're like both just unreal. And this is
Yeah,
kind of like this for Kansas. It's like these two are
absolutely. Yeah,
like Twin Peaks. It's insane.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
They're both
yeah.
amazing
They're
amazing.
both mandatory, and yeah, they both complement each other well. It's like if you got one, you got to have the other
Yeah.
for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I want to tell you before I forget because you were talking about how you discovered Kansas. I discovered Kansas because I'm a huge Genesis guy. So I discovered I really got into Kansas when I bought Steve Hackett's "Please Don't Touch," and the guys from Kansas were on it,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
and I was
Forget
like, these
about
are
that.
cool songs, "Racing in A," and say another one. There's another one. I can't remember. There's another song that Steve Walsh sings, and uh and I was like, this is cool. And Philly Hart was on it, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I was like, and all of a sudden I went, oh, these are guys from Kansas. I got to go check that band out. If they're playing with Steve Hackett, they must be cool, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So after that, I went back and just bought all these records. So that's how I discovered them. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of people forget that they played on that album, which is kind of cool. I mean, Steve's always had some cool guests on his album, but good for him to give the rub to a couple of American guys, I think, from a band that a lot of British fans kind of discount, I think, at times. So I think that's pretty cool.
exactly. Really cool. So now we go to the contentious one a little bit, which is the
Yeah,
Monolith.
Monolith.
And Pete and I were going back and forth. I was like, do we include Monolith? And I was like, is Monolith incredible? And I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm not sure. I think it's got moments, but I don't know. But the more I listen to it, there's some great songs on here. Like
Yeah,
there's still. I mean, I think in my opinion, it's a step down from a point of no return. However, there's still some great moments on it.
I would agree. It is a step down. And the production is not quite as good as the previous two albums, I don't think.
Right, right,
But it's still the 70s, so this is the last gasp of the 70s for them. Uh, it's definitely got a different tone to it. And I think it's not a concept album, but they seem to be going more for this kind of like, weird kind of like Native American thing, kind of sort of. And I think the tone of the album is what kind of maybe brings it down a little bit. Some of the songs have a really different flavor here, but there's some great stuff on here. On the other side, kicks it off. Really, really good song. Another great vocal from Walsh on there. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. They released as a single People of the South Wind,
yes,
which I think is a great song. I don't know if that was a right choice of a single, though.
right,
Not
right.
really sure. But is there anything else really on here that would have been single material? I don't really know.
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Because I don't think this is kind of like the Masque album. I don't think this is an album full of, there's no real singles on here. This
Right.
is more like an album cut album. But I think People of the South Wind is probably the closest thing you'll get to a
To a
potential
cell
hit.
phone.
I
Yeah.
heard it on the radio a little bit, but I don't, it didn't go anywhere. Angels Have Fallen is killer, but it's kind of a dark song.
Yep.
Really good. How My Soul Cries Out for You is the heavy track on here. That's great. Really good. Another great vocal on there. Glimpse of Home is majestic, you know, very kind of like that kind of soaring melodic song that Kansas does so well. Away From You is okay, nothing spectacular. Stay Out of Trouble, another heavy rock song on here. So you do have a couple heavy tracks on here. And then Reason to Be, the final track is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
Maybe that's potential radio hit. I don't know. Reason to Be. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But like a lot of these albums, you have your share of rockers. There's no real boogie stuff on here. I think they've finally walked away from that.
Right.
But as with like on the next album, you get heavier stuff going forward, and all of a sudden there's less like keyboardy, epic sounding prog rock on this album. It's more kind of like this album to me, out of all these, is the most American sounding and closer to like American rock and less prog. There's still prog on here, don't get me wrong, but not as blatant as on here or some of the other ones. And I
Yeah.
think that's a reason why a lot of people were disappointed with this album. I think it's a really good album on its own, but it's just not quite the same. It's a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, and maybe you're hitting the nail on the head when you're talking about that's what I struggle with. It feels a little disjointed to me. It feels a little bit I don't know how to describe it, but I do think that Reason to Be is a great track. Like
I
I
love Reason to Be.
I
Yeah.
forgot how good that is. Like that almost sounds like a Genesis song to me. And then People of the Southwind is a good sing. I mean, I thought that was a good single.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like it.
and Glimpse of Home, I like. So there are some good tracks on it for sure. I don't think it's as consistent as the last two they did, but they just did two masterpieces in a row. So I mean, at some point you can't keep doing 5-star records forever, you
Yeah.
know. So
You could make the argument, Tom, that Audio Visions has more kind of like hit potential, but
right,
Audio Visions is less of a prog album than this one, I think. Like
it's
Audio
less,
Visions,
it's even less so. Yeah,
yeah. But Audio Visions has some great tracks on it. There's some good
it
heavy stuff
does.
on there too.
It does.
Um, for me, I don't, other than Away From You, I think is really to me the only kind of weak song on here. Reason to Be is terrific. I love Angels Have Fallen. People on the Southwind is great. On the other side is, I think, the underrated gem on here. But I like
Right,
the heavy stuff, How My Soul Cries Out for You and Stay Out of Trouble. Both
right,
really good. So yeah, I like this. I think it's a very strong album. It's not like magnificent like these
right,
two.
right. Yes,
There's like and like I said, the tone of this album is a little different. It's a little bleak. It's a
yes.
little dark sounding. It's not this big bright production like the other two.
Yes. And they were starting I just know this because I watched the documentary, but they were starting to have issues within the band at this point
Yeah,
too. I think
yeah,
Walsh was starting to get more and more kind of annoyed that he wasn't writing as much or wasn't getting as much credit for something was going on within the band a little. And by this point, I always say this, the one thing that people don't talk about is bands get tired. I mean, they had been pushing hard for, for a long time, and they by this point, I think they were getting kind of tired, you know.
yeah. I'm getting sick of each other. I mean, they were on the road all the
Yes.
time, and
Yeah.
if you look at who wrote the song, so On the Other Side and People of the South Wind were written by Livgren. Angels Have Fallen was written by Walsh. How My Soul Cries Out for You, written by Walsh. Stay Out of Trouble, written by Walsh. All of a sudden, the heavier stuff, the more rocking stuff, is Steve Walsh. But I think if you go back to all the earlier albums, a lot of those boogie rockers and stuff were written by him as well. I think that
Walsh,
fits
right.
him.
Yep.
And then A Glimpse of Home was written by Kerry. Away From You is a Walsh song as well, and Reason to Be was a Kerry song.
Right.
The more typical Kansas stuff was written by Kerry Livgren. And I
Yeah.
think there you have this problem within the band. And I think also right around this time, I think Kerry became a born again Christian right around this time.
Yes, he did. He did.
So
That's
all of
exactly
a sudden he's writing more spiritual type stuff, which I don't think sat well with Walsh at all. And,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, whatever. You got two main writers who are like not really seeing eye to eye anymore.
He was getting
That's
turned off
never
by the
good.
Christian stuff and the yeah. I think
It's
that
never
was
a good thing.
yeah. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, what would you have any last words on Kansas? That's the incredible. And by the way, as we said before, I don't want to forget this that the live album is essential as well. You got to get the live record.
Yeah, Two for the Show is really, really good.
The
And
show.
make sure you get the remastered version of it, which came out like 10 years ago or so, that has the extra tracks on it that were left off the
Yes.
original album, which,
Yeah.
because if you go, I always thought, it's so funny. You get into these albums, these live albums, you're like, God, this seems kind of short. Where's the rest of the tracks? And you do some research and you find out the actual track list from the tour, and you're like, well, where's those other four songs, right? Well, with limitations of vinyl and CD and stuff,
Yeah.
thankfully they released the double CD later on, which contained everything, which is really good. But yeah, great. It's a great live album, really good live album.
Yeah.
They recreated all this complex stuff very, very well on stage. They even do it well today with the current lineup of the band, even though almost all these guys are no longer playing with them anymore. But
Yeah.
which is kind of strange. But
It's almost like a greatest hits live. It's almost like a Frampton Comes Alive kind of thing where they're doing all the best tracks from all these records, on live, and they're just killing it. I mean, they're killing it live too. They're
yeah, really good. Yeah, it's a great live album, really is.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say for anybody watching, if you've never listened to any of these albums, you should. Really, really good. It'll scratch the itch for prog rock, hard rock. There's a little pop here. The early stuff's got a little boogie hard rock as well. But if you really hear just for the prog side of things, you know, you need these two records.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, these
Those
are
those are essential.
those are essential, but there's great stuff to be found on all the other ones. So don't discount them. But like I said, even if you're going to go move into the 80s, there's fine material in the 80s and onwards. And don't sleep on the last two studio albums they've done, which are really, really great. Most of them, the band is completely different nowadays, but they're returning to play progressive rock like they used to back in the day. Really, really good. Freaks and Natures from the 90s is really good. That's another good one. So yeah, there's some really good albums in this catalog that go beyond this, but these are the ones you really want to kind of focus on.
Yeah, Freaks of Nature has some moments on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and it's interesting that who is it when with Power? Who was the guitar player again for Dixie Dregs?
Oh, Steve Morse. Yeah, Steve Morse played on two albums.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So I remember being like, "Oh, Steve Morse is in Kansas. Wow!" Like that was kind of an interesting
Yeah, it was
throw.
weird. They ditched the violin. They got Robbie left the band and they didn't replace him and they just brought Steve Morse in, which
Yeah,
is really kind of busy. I mean, there's some good stuff on those albums too. I'm not an enormous fan of Power and in the Spirit of Things, but
right,
because I think they're kind of poppy, but there's some really good. I love Morse. He's one of my favorite guitar players.
right.
Um, but there's good tracks on them as well. They're not among my favorite albums by the band, but they're good. Yeah, so there's good stuff there.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in the Kansas discography. But I would say we're arguing that this is the cream of the crop. There's these
Yeah,
first.
this is their classic run. Their
Yeah,
classic run for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So yeah, so check it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think in the comments. We want to know what you think of Kansas. What do you think of this run? What's your opinion? I'll read all the comments, so let me know. And Pete, thank you so much again. Thanks for coming on, man. It's always a
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me, Tom. I appreciate it as always. Always a
Yeah.
pleasure to be talking classic album runs. I mean, I always love this whole concept, right? Because there are a lot of bands from this era that have these four, five, six, seven album runs that are just like unbelievable. That doesn't happen anymore, right? But back then, kind of standard.
Exactly, absolutely, and that's why we love talking. I mean, this is the music geeks heaven. It's like we love talking about. Remember these albums they did right in a row? They were all amazing. It's fun to talk about. Because you're right, it's kind of a rarity these days. So and people take so long between albums now. I mean, back we're talking about two albums in '75. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's such a different landscape now. But
Yeah,
anyway,
just think about it. I mean, that's the interesting concept, right? Think about that. They're cranking out albums of such high quality, and in some cases, two a year. And
mhm,
there are bands from this era that would release, like I was just thinking about Uriah Heep earlier today. They released two great albums in 1971 and then two even better albums in 1972. So four albums, four killer albums in the span of a year.
yeah,
That never happens, or a year
yeah,
and a half, whatever it was.
right.
Crazy.
What is it? Look at You? Is that early '70s or
Look at Yourself. So they
look at
released
yourself? Yeah.
they released Salisbury and Look at Yourself in 71. Then in 72, early 72, Demons and Wizards, and The Magician's Birthday in the fall of 72. So
Yeah.
from January 1971 through September of 72, they released four killer albums
Yeah. Yeah.
among their best.
That's crazy. I mean,
It's insane. It's
yeah, that's
absolutely
crazy.
insane.
Demons and to me, that's another Twin Peaks is Demons and Wizards and Magician's Birthday. I just those two for me are like just
Yeah,
oh my God,
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
And I mean, but I forgot how Look at Yourself is so great too. I mean that I forgot how good that was.
That's oftentimes my favorite Uriah Heep album.
Yeah,
I go back and forth between that and Demons and Wizards as my favorite. Look at Yourself is great.
it
Really
is. It's really
underrated. Everybody talks about Demons and Wizards, but man, Look at Yourself is just as good in my opinion.
it's good. It's really good. So yeah, but anyway, but yeah, we could talk all night about this stuff. So I'm gonna wrap it up. We'll save that for another episode.
There you go. There you go. I could talk
Yeah.
Uriah Heep all day long. So
Exactly. So thanks again, Pete. And that's it. We'll hit like and subscribe. If you like what you see, it helps the channel. Appreciate that. And if you're with us this long, you must be a big Kansas fan. So we want to know what you think below. Let us know.
yep.
And always check out Sea of Tranquility, of course. I mean,
Thanks everyone.
that is Pete's channel, and that is an amazing music channel that if you again, I always say if you're not familiar, I don't know where you've been, but it's an amazing channel that has tons of content, and it's just he was inspiring to me to start my own channel. So there you go.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know what bigger compliment I can give. So, but check out Sea of Tranquility, of course, and we'll see you next time on Curless Mania. Take care. See ya.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.